Which NFL teams will make the playoffs next NFL season? What's going on, football fans? It's Mitch here, back with another NFL video. And in this video, my super early picks to make the playoffs in 2024-2025. I know, Super Bowl 58 just wrapped up like a week ago, but I want to give you my early picks. A projection for who will make the playoffs next year, before free agency, before the draft. Just my first guess, my first inclination for who will be in the playoffs next year. Who's on the rise? Who's going to fall? All those questions answered and more. Let me know in the comment section below the teams that you think will make the AFC playoffs, the NFC playoffs. Let me know. Gronk, spike the damn like button. Get those likes up. Subscribe to the channel for more NFL offseason content. And let's begin with the AFC playoffs. Going from division winners through AFC wildcards. The AFC playoffs feature, and the AFC conference as a whole, better quarterback play. Teams that will be healthier this year, potentially. Teams that will have fresh coaches that could make the playoffs. I'm just impressed with the overall quarterback play we might get in these playoffs if everything goes right. So let's start at the top with the number 1 seed. And I'm not going to lie to myself and not have the Kansas City Chiefs as the number 1 seed. Patrick Mahomes back looking to three-peat with Andy Reid, Travis Kelce. Will Chris Jones be back? That's obviously a huge question. L'Jarius Sneed, a huge question. But what I do know is that the Chiefs' offense will likely improve even if their defense regresses. Even if they lose a couple pieces on their defense, that offense should only get better at wide receiver. That offensive line could definitely use a couple tackles. I think they'll address it. The offense, the worst we've seen it with Mahomes running the show last year, I think will be more consistent, more explosive in 2024, and that will balance the scale of the defense maybe declining a bit. So the Chiefs will make the playoffs, win the AFC West, and I have them right now as the number 1 seed. They're just the easiest pick. The second seed, a little bit bolder, but let's not forget, because a lot of people must have forgot that the Cincinnati Bengals will be back in 2024. And oh boy, Burrowhead might come back. We will find out. But Joe Burrow will be back, and he hopes T. Higgins will be as well. That being said, he will have Jamar Chase. A defense that I think can improve this offseason. They have enough salary cap and certainly the draft picks to utilize to upgrade this unit. But they have a lot of their defense returning. I think they could just add a couple safeties, maybe a D lineman, maybe a corner. But overall, this Bengals team, this Bengals franchise is going to go all in to win a Super Bowl because this is the window to do it. Maybe they bring back T. Higgins on a franchise tag or something. But what I know is that when Burrow's playing, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, especially when he's healthy. The offense, they have a simple formula that can be replicated easily under Zach Taylor and with Joe Burrow at the helm. And it's effective, and it's consistent. And what I was really impressed about this team in 2023 was they were actually really competitive with a backup quarterback in Jake Browning that no one had any respect for. So that fact alone kind of showed me the prowess of this coaching staff, the ability of this coaching staff to uplift this team. So I really respected that process. I thought without Joe Burrow, this team would be a disaster, but they were actually fairly competitive, which makes me believe in them heading into next season. But the Bengals will certainly be a contender next year. I have them as the number 2 seed right now. As the number 3 seed, I've got the Buffalo Bills. I think the Bills once again win the AFC East. A lot of people will overcomplicate this process. Oh, I love the Miami Dolphins, Mitch. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Tua, Mike McDaniel. No. There's a guy named Josh Allen that plays quarterback in this division, and he is by far, I don't care. Oh, Jets fans, here they come. I can hear them right now. Oh, what about Aaron Rodgers, Mitch? No, Josh Allen is the best quarterback in this league. It's not 2014, pal. Jets fans. That's what they think it is, but it's not. The Jets, they have a strong defense. The Jets, they've got things you like. Breece Hall's a stud. Garrett Wilson. Maybe they make the playoffs. Maybe they'll even be in this video as a wild card, but they're not going to outdo the Bills because the Bills, they're returning pretty much their entire offense low key. They could move on from Stephon Diggs. Maybe they trade him. Maybe they bring in a younger receiver. Maybe they sign a receiver. Who knows? I think they should go after receivers this offseason. They have a lot of their defense coming back. Tre'Davious White, Matt Milano didn't play last year. There was still a decent defense when healthy enough. Ed Oliver, Gregory Rousseau. The corner position is going to be real strong for Buffalo. I think they'll build that D lineup with some young bodies. I really like this roster going into next year. I think they're going to do a lot of good things at free agency in the draft. And I believe in the front office of this team. I have not as much faith in the coaching staff, but I do think that the offensive coordinator being there for a full offseason, Brady that is, and a full season is going to complement the running game. You know, they really got that going last year, and Josh Allen into next year, and really be able to play together, grow together throughout the course of the season. But I think the Bills are going to be that team that a lot of people sleep on because they think their window is closed, but I don't necessarily think it is because they've still, after all, got number 17. But they're my number 3 seed. At number 4, I have the Houston Texans. I think they'll once again be the 4 seed this season. They could be higher. I wouldn't doubt that at all. If you put them at number 3, number 2, maybe even number 1, I wouldn't hate it. I think CJ Stroud is an absolute stud. Stud. S-T-U-D. Bona fide, okay? I think CJ Stroud is going to be one of the elite quarterbacks this season. And the offensive line is solid. They're not going to have to go out and re-sign anyone. If anything, they'll just upgrade some of those positions. Wide receiving core, Nico Collins, I think they'll restructure and get his contract done. We do know Tank Dell will be back. Dalton Schultz will be in the mix, I believe. I think they might look for a more explosive running back, but Devin Singletary was fairly complimentary to this offense. And overall, Bobby Slowick had that thing really moving and really in sync. And I'm looking forward to see year 2 with Slowick and Stroud and how that relationship builds when they get Tank Dell back and all those pieces. So I'm excited for the offense. The defense, D'Amico Ryans is one of the best defensive coaches in football, and he has a lot of studs, young studs. Will Anderson, Stingley, Petrie, a lot of players I really like, and then some veterans mixed in there. I think they could utilize another game changer rather in the secondary or up front, and they've got plenty of cap space to work with, so I'm really expecting a big free agency from this team, and that will help them improve, in my opinion. I could see this team winning 11, 12 games next year. I think they're going to be real good because they have a real good quarterback. The 5th seed. I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens. I understand they were the 1st seed last year, but I honestly think they're going to regress a little bit because Mike Macdonald will be gone. He'll be coaching in Seattle, and I think he's a great coach. And I think losing arguably your best schematic coach is a big loss. And he made guys look better than they are, especially like Jadeveon Clowney, Kyle Van Noy, guys older, later in their career, really playing great ball for them, career seasons for them. I think he got the most out of guys like Patrick Queen, out of Matabike, out of Kyle Hamilton, so many names, Geno Stone. And some of these guys are free agents. They might leave and they might depart and they might go with Mr. McDonald. So I think the defense could regress from the number 1 unit in the league to maybe still really good, but not quite as dominant. More pressure on the offense. The offense, I still feel, needs to upgrade their receiving core. Odell's a free agent. I think that Mark Andrews coming back will be awesome. The O-line, though, both guards are free agents. That O-line's aging with Stanley constantly being injured, and then Morgan Moses is getting older. The running back position is a bit weak. So I'm intrigued to see what the Ravens look to improve, what they look to maintain, how they make up for the loss of Mike Macdonald. But I think that their opportunity has passed a little bit. I think 2023 was their best chance. I think they're going to have to restructure, retool this roster. And I don't think 2024 necessarily will be the year. I think a lot of people will go all in with the Ravens just because of how they played last year and that People think they kind of underwhelmed with a bad game plan in the AFC Championship. I understand that thought process, but I think you need to look at what they lost and what they may lose this offseason, and I'm projecting that to next year for them to just be a little bit worse, especially in the regular season. And Lamar also has had issues with injuries, so he could also miss a couple games. You never really know. He's been pretty consistently missing a couple games every other year. So at number 5, I've got the Ravens. The 6th seed, the Los Angeles Chargers, is a fresh new playoff team in the AFC. The Chargers will be back in the playoffs after 1 year missing, and I think Jim Harbaugh is going to make all the difference. I think he is an instant upgrade in a huge way over Brandon Staley, and really the biggest thing this team needed, and you look at this roster, is coaching. They're bringing a solid defensive coordinator. I think they're going to have a really strong run game under Greg Roman, which will complement Justin Herbert, and the play-action game, I think, very exceptionally. Keenan Allen is there still playing at a high level. I think Mike Williams is going to come back and play well. I'd like to see them upgrade their defensive front. I'd like to see them upgrade their linebacker position. I think that instantly Harbaugh is going to bring credibility in terms of toughness, in terms of physicality, in a way we haven't seen from a Charger team in a long time. So I don't necessarily think this team will be a contender, but I think with Herbert being one of the best, most talented quarterbacks in the league and just more structure around him, that's going to make them a 9, 10, 11 win team next year. So I believe in Herbert. I believe in Harbaugh. Chargers, time to bolt up to the playoffs. The number 7 seed, I've got the Indianapolis Colts. I am a believer in Shane Steichen, first and foremost, and I always try to lean into great coaches and great quarterbacks. Now, Anthony Richardson is a huge wild card and a huge question mark. I liked what I saw so far from his young career. Now, he has to stay healthy. That being said, if Gardner Minshew is re-signed, that gives him a high floor backup that I think they can maintain on this team in case Richardson does miss some time once again. But this Richardson kid has a huge ceiling. He's super athletic. Love his pocket presence. Love his pocket movement. Think he's got a cannon of an arm. And he can make a lot of plays outside of structure, even if he's not seeing the field exceptionally or not throwing an accurate ball all the time. I think the guy will be making, some mistakes, but I think also making a lot of plays. And I think the O-line, the run game will be exceptional. I think they'll bring back Michael Pittman. I think they could support Richardson with more tools, given that they have about $60 million in cap space. They should really fix their corner position, their secondary, maybe even their pass rush. But I feel like this Colts team isn't too far away from being a real team in the AFC. This was like a 9-10 win team last year, despite losing the young quarterback, despite dealing with injuries, despite a lot of people counting them out, and I think that really speaks to how good of a coach Shane Steichen is. You saw that coincide with the fall-off of the Eagles last year. I think it's no mistake. I think it's no fluke. I think the Colts have a great coach, and I think the Colts are on their way. Now, maybe I'm getting a little bit too far ahead of myself. I want to see how this team performs in the offseason and if they improve and if they add because, sometimes this team has been a little bit shy in spending money, but if they do that, I will be more confident in this pick. I always have time to change it, but right now I'm going with the upside selection in the Colts. So my AFC picks for the playoffs right now, I got the Chiefs, the Bills, the Texans, and the Bengals as the division winners. My wild cards give me the Ravens, Chargers, and Colts. Now, I feel most confident in the Chiefs, the Bills, and I would say, I guess the Bengals to make the playoffs overall, but I'm also extremely high on the Texans. The Ravens, I feel like I'm confident in my take, but I could also see them winning the division. I'm not going to be shocked by that. I am less confident in the Chargers and the Colts, but I feel good about them improving this year. So now it's time for the NFC playoffs. This conference is tricky because I think there's going to be some teams on the rise, and the question will be, how much better can they get? How much can they improve? I don't think there's going to be a huge turnover in the teams that make the playoffs and miss the playoffs, but I also feel like, the NFC South is very up in the air. This division is lousy, and the Bucs kind of capitalized on that. What will that division be like? The NFC East, I feel like there's a bit of a transition happening right now. The NFC West and NFC North, though, I think are low-key two of the most competitive divisions in the NFL. entering 2024. So look out for those divisions especially. But let's start off with the number 1 seed. I'm not changing. That's the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers, I made a video already why I believe they could be better than last year. This team is pretty much reuniting, bringing back all of the names, right? McCaffrey, Debo, Kittle, Trent Williams. I expect Ayuk to be back and not traded. While many people are building that storyline, I think it is not going to happen. I actually think the Niners will improve the offensive line to support and protect Purdy. And I believe that Brock Purdy will only get better because his mental game will grow. He'll have a full offseason to operate within this system and get comfortable and have a full offseason not recovering from an elbow injury, which will make him grow as a player. I think this Niners offense is once again going to be one of the most potent and successful and consistent in the NFL in 2024. Defensively, I'm highly anticipating who they hire at defensive coordinator, but I expect it to be actually an improved defense. I think that the defense has all the main pieces returning. They might have to replace an edge rusher. They might have to replace a corner or a safety. But honestly, like, this team, I think, could add a bunch of useful draft picks after a couple seasons missing a first-round pick due to the Trey Lance trade. Remember, this team was able to get to the Super Bowl and back to the Super Bowl after completely missing on a quarterback, completely whiffing on a quarterback they traded up for. So they're kind of getting back those draft picks now. So they're going to be able to build some of the youth and depth of this roster that was, in my opinion, missing a little bit, especially on defense this past year. So at number 1, I got the Niners. I think they're going to be just as good, if not better, than last year, honestly. I think they'll be a more balanced team overall. My number 2 seed is the Detroit Lions. I feel very confident about this one, actually. I think the Lions are going to be just as good, if not better, than last year. And I think, honestly, the top teams in the NFC, I think, are going to be very competitive. I don't think it's going to be like last year where it was kind of like, okay, who's facing the Niners in the NFC Championship? Because that was kind of how I thought of the season all year. It's like, who's taking on the Niners? Because I thought it was going to be the Cowboys. They kind of choked. But the Lions were that team to make it there. And honestly, when you look at the Lions, I think 2024 was the season to be super excited about. Like 2023, the fact that they got to the NFC Championship, I think is extremely impressive, and they'll build upon that. I look at this team, and yeah, they need to sign a couple guys back, but some of their younger guys, I think, are going to grow. Jamison Williams at receiver, Jahmyr Gibbs at running back, Sam Laporta at tight end. They're already phenomenal players, outside of Jamison Williams, but I think they'll only grow more and get better. I think Jared Goff is consistently been pretty good for them, and I could see him having another good season with Ben Johnson back in the fold. I think they've got all the pieces in their prime, right? Amon-Ra. They've got an offensive line with 2 great tackles, a good center. I think they're going to have to work on the interior a little bit. Maybe they have to re-sign Jackson, I believe, but the defense they can focus most of those resources on, right? Draft picks and salary cap space to bring in potentially another pass rusher to help out Aiden Hutchinson, maybe a linebacker that can cover, maybe some corners on the outside that can really play some man-to-man. I could expect them really going after one of the high-ticket cornerbacks to help out because that's their biggest deficiency right now and clearly the biggest deficiency in the NFC Championship. So I think the Lions could be a real good competitor against the Niners in the NFC this next season. This division, though, in general, is going to be really hard. And it's going to be hard for the Lions to win this division. No doubt. At number 3, the Dallas Cowboys. I just simply can't see any other team in the NFC East being that great. I think the Eagles could be good, and depending on how Kellen Moore works out as the offensive coordinator and Vic Fangio works out as the defensive coordinator and what they decide to do with some of their veteran players. And this roster on paper still looks pretty solid. Jalen Hurts is a great leader at quarterback. I don't know what's going on with Jason Kelce. I don't know. The O-line, though, is still going to be really dominant. Maybe not quite as good as it was 2 years ago when they made the Super Bowl, but still really darn good. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. You'd expect them to bring back DeAndre Swift at running back. The defense does need linebackers, does need safeties and corners, but that's the question. Like, what are they going to do with Slay, Bradbury? These guys are getting old. Kevin Byard, these guys are getting old. Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, the list goes on. Like, these guys are dwindling. They're getting to their retirement home days. So And they've got some young guys on the rise on that defense that they're kind of holding back from playing a bigger role. So I'm anticipating them, restructuring this team a little bit and doing a little bit of a retooling and maybe moving off some of these older guys. That is the Eagles. So the Eagles could give the Cowboys a competition, and I'm including the Eagles in my rant and ramble here because I don't have them making the playoffs. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about them because they were the toughest team to leave out. But the Dallas Cowboys, I view them as having the best overall, most consistent passer in this division. That is Dak Prescott. I think CeeDee Lamb's an alpha target. I mean, he's a top 3 or 4 receiver in the league. I think that the O-line will be pretty solid. I think Tyron Smith will be back, but you do have to wonder about Smith and Martin and their age at this point. There is a chance that they could upgrade the right tackle or center positions this offseason. I like Jalen Ferguson at tight end. I think Cooks and Gallup and Tolbert are fair, let's call them undercard receivers. But you look at this offense, and it was really potent and really dynamic throughout the regular season and even the postseason. I mean, the defense really had a terrible postseason game and a terrible late stretch to the season. I think Trayvon Diggs coming back will help. I think they definitely need to utilize some money on the interior and the middle of the field defense, linebacker, defensive line, safety. I like the edge rusher, Micah Parsons, making a difference. Diggs coming back will make a difference. Even a guy like Leighton Vander Esch making a difference. DeMarcus Lawrence is still good. They've still got a lot of key pieces. I think the Cowboys have the chance to replicate. Now, the Eagles could definitely take their spot, but I don't know, man. I don't see the Giants or Washington really being competitive this year unless they make a lot of drastic changes. I think Washington's far away. The Giants maybe, but the Cowboys, to me, they have enough talent. They have a decent enough coaching staff to get this thing done. Zimmer will bring a new approach to the defense. Looking forward to seeing it as my number 3 seed. At the number 4 seed, I got the Atlanta Falcons. This one was the trickiest. I kind of want to pick the Tampa Bay Bucks, but I actually really like Atlanta in terms of the coaching staff that they chose. I really like Raheem Morris as a leader and a defensive coach and the ability to get the most out of these players on the defense and with LA and all that stuff. I really like Zach Robinson. I think he's going to be a really good offensive play caller and offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. I think Bijan and this offensive line could really be the engine to their success. I think that Drake London is a budding superstar. I think Kyle Pitts has not been properly utilized under Arthur Smith. I think he's maybe a little bit overrated as a player, but I still think he could be better utilized at the same time. The defense was underrated last year, and they've got a prime opportunity here to pick up a quarterback of choice, a prime opportunity to improve some of the aspects like edge rusher. They've got lots of salary to work with. This is a team that I feel like from ownership really wants to go for it, really wants to win. So that's kind of what I'm leaning into here. I don't necessarily see the Bucs winning this division again for the 4th year in a row. So maybe I'm wrong, though. If Baker comes back and Mike Evans comes back and they get Levante David back in the house, the Bucs might have the most ready roster to once again go at it. It's just at a certain point they're going to have to, retool and rebuild a little bit because it feels like the Bucs are just going to keep hitting their wall against 9 to 10 wins without Brady. So the Falcons feel like that team that could be on the rise. I thought they were that team last year. They just slightly missed out because of the poor quarterback play, which we kind of projected. So at number 4, better quarterback play should get Atlanta to the playoffs. At number 5, the Green Bay Packers. The Packers I am in love with right now. I love every aspect of this team moving into the future. I think the offensive line is low-key one of the most talented and deep in the NFL, and I think they have 1 or 2 free agents, but I think they'll be able to bring them back. They've got lots of money to work with. They've got 3 awesome receivers. I wouldn't be shocked if the Christian Watson, Wicks, Reed, Dobbs receiving core was like the next Greg Jennings, Donald Driver, Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb deal, where it's like, where are all these guys coming from? Jordan Love seems to be a top 10 quarterback in terms of talent and ability, and I really like his swagger, and I think he's got a lot of talent. I love Aaron Jones. I think he's a phenomenal running back, and I think he's still playing at a high level. Matt LaFleur seems to have found his next quarterback, and just the play calling and the rhythm and the sequencing and all of it feels special to me. The defense, I think, can get better with improved coaching, which we're going to get no Joe Barry, thank the Lord. And the front seven is talented. I think they've got a lot of pieces to work with. Walker, Campbell, Kenny Clark, the edge rusher, Rashawn Gary, Van Ness. I don't know what's going on with Alexander, but the key area to improve is safety and corner for the Packers. I think they know that. They're good at drafting. I think they're going to find some pieces. This team could win the NFC. I wouldn't be shocked they could win their division. I wouldn't be shocked. They're a very solid, very on-the-rise, sexy 5 seed. At number 6, the Los Angeles Rams, a very safe 6 seed, in my opinion. I don't necessarily think they're going to win the Super Bowl or go on a super run, but with Stafford being healthy, although he is getting older, McVay being the coach, Aaron Donald, Puka Nacua, Williams, Kupp. I mean, they've got a lot of special ability here. Couple younger guys that are on the rise. A borderline defensive rookie of the year last season on that defense. I think they'll be able to spend some money to improve, maybe a couple of the areas of their defense, like corner, like maybe pass rush to help out Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald can't do it by himself forever. The offensive line could definitely use a little bit of a tune-up on the interior, but man, this offense was top 10 last year, and the defense was middling, but it could improve, right? So the Rams are in a good spot. Like last year was their transition year. Last year was the year that we expected them to suck and kind of take a step back, but McVay, Stafford, they were able to rise, them hitting on a Nacua, them getting Williams going. Like a lot of guys stepped up to the plate, and this team could really if everything can go their way once again, they could really push to that next level of NFC Championship, NFC Divisional Round. Stafford is a magical player when he's at his best. So this team should make the playoffs. At number 7, the Seattle Seahawks. I am a big believer in Mike Macdonald. I've already stated it as a reason why I'm down on the Ravens. I think the Seahawks were super disappointing last year. I thought they should have made the playoffs. I thought they should have easily made it given the talent they have at receiver, at running back. Even Geno. Geno is not a bad player. I'm disappointed in people giving up on him so fast. I think the defense has a lot of younger guys that I think could really hit. Witherspoon, I really like some of, the additions they made last offseason. I'm really disappointed that they didn't get more out of this defense. I thought that Bobby Wagner coming back, actually having a decent season, Draymond Jones being added, having those 3 safeties. I thought Love played well for them. I think Diggs is still a good player. I think Woolen can still play. I think McDonald is going to take this defense and completely recalibrate it, completely twist it, and turn it around. Because this defense has talent. And I'm very disappointed with how they ended up last year. I think they're going to end up adding players. They're in a pretty good cap situation. Schneider's a great drafter. The Seahawks are that team that missed last year. They shouldn't have missed but then they made the right call at head coach, I think, for Pete to move on from him and bring in a young mastermind of defense. And I really love that move for them. I think that's going to push them over the top to make the playoffs once again and win about 9 or 10 games. So Seattle is my number 7 seed, and my NFC playoff teams will be the Niners, the Lions, the Cowboys, the Falcons to win the divisions. As I've stated, Falcons and Cowboys, I'm a little bit wishy-washy on. I could see the Eagles winning the NFC East and the Cowboys maybe being a 7 seed or missing the playoffs entirely. I could also see the Atlanta Falcons not making it, obviously, depending on the quarterback they get. But I have confidence in this coaching staff, this new coaching staff. I have confidence in this young roster, and I have confidence that they'll make the right call at quarterback. I also look at wild cards and I say, I really like my picks there, honestly. The Packers, the Rams, a good mix. I love the coaches. Seattle, I think, is going to be a team that is going to be a lot better on defense. That's going to push them to a playoff spot. But those are my playoff teams as of right now, early this 2024 NFL offseason. Let me know your early playoff picks. Thank you so much for watching. Growing Spike the like button. We'll see you in the next video. It's Mitch. Deuces, guys.